Good evening. Today we're going to be talking about the subject of being a good friend. One thing, as I was preparing this podcast, that the Holy Spirit revealed to me about 5 minutes ago is what we're talking about is the qualities of being a great friend, which Christ showed when he went to the cross. I mean, and also just how he lived his life. But what really inspired this was a song that I heard the version of it about 10 years ago for the first time. Even though I've known this song, it's been one of my favorite songs since I was a kid. But it's "Spirit of the Sovereign Lord" by Andy Park. The bridge is one that gives me chills every time I think about it, and every time I read, I'll probably get chills reading this. But break down what it means as far as not just a follower of Christ, but as far as being a good friend. So here we go. It says, Jesus, you drank the cup of God's vengeance. You took upon yourself the punishment we deserve so we might receive your mercy. As the Father sent you, you are now sending us to show mercy instead of judgment, generosity instead of selfishness, and kindness instead of prejudice, to bring hope to the hopeless, healing to the wounded, and love to the outcast. Now, well, the part about Jesus drinking the cup of God's vengeance and taking on himself the punishment we deserve so we might receive his mercy. If you look at Old Testament law, first of all, you had to have a lamb without blemish as a sacrifice for sin of the first year, and which nobody nobody could even really go a day without sinning, just because of the Old Testament law. It's impossible to follow the law 100%. So if we followed Old Testament law, which is pre-Christ, we're all dead, because every single one of us has broken several laws. Because of the law, we fall short. Galatians, I believe, tells us that if we have broken one part of the law, we've broken one commandment, we've broken the whole law. And so Christ came to where we could, he gave us he gave us mercy, and gave us gave us a way out when he lived a perfect life, died on the cross for our sins, rose again the third day, so that way we could have the promise of new life with him, and if we just follow him. And so it's as the Father sent Christ, he's now sending us to show mercy instead of judgment. Now, as a friend, if you have a friend who's very judgmental, or you're very judgmental, you're not going to have friends for very long, because nobody wants a friend who nobody wants a friend who's going to be very judgmental or critical of things that they do, but is merciful as God through Christ is merciful. Christ was a friend to us, and so we get to walk that out. And and the hardest part about that is, it's easy to say show mercy, but I mean, it's a nice term to use to to be to be merciful because you need God's mercy and you need mercy from others. But it really hits home when things happen that make it where you have something to lose. If a person does something to you wrongfully, your first thought as a natural human being is, I'm going to get back at him, and I'm going to get back at him bigger, better, and badder than they did to me. And so that's where mercy instead of judgment comes in, because mercy says, okay, I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to look at, try to understand what they are going through, trying to, as mom used to say, walk a mile in their shoes. Take a step back and see what they're going through, see what they're having to overcome, and when you can see things from their perspective, it's a little bit easier to show mercy, because you're like, yeah, where I'm ready to go after him. Hey, what if, if God shows you the whole picture, you're like, what if this? And it's like, oh, okay, I didn't see that. If I wouldn't want someone to hastily do something towards me when they don't know my heart, they don't know my situation. I could have had a bad day. I could have been, dealt with hard things that caused me to overreact, which we all do that sometimes. And so it's learning to walk a mile in another person's shoes, trying to see things from their perspective helps a lot. And generosity instead of selfishness. One of the hardest things about life is realizing that it's not about us. Nothing that we go through in our life is. If we all got what we wanted every single time, well, not only would we be spoiled brats, but everyone would hate us. Nobody would want to be around us, and we just would not be good people. When we realize that life isn't about us, we look at our struggles as opportunities to help others going through the similar things. Because a phrase that I see, that I have seen a lot, is, you don't know what a person is going through, so always be kind. I agree with that 100%. Because when we're harsh towards other people, it can make the struggle that they're dealing with a lot worse and a lot more unbearable. But if we're kind, we lead them in our actions back to Christ. Because I think most people, whether they know it or not, they subconsciously know the characters of Christ, because they expect others to be the same way, whether or not they are. So yeah, we're quick to point out when a behavior does not represent who Christ is. So it's it's always good to remember that that things aren't about us, and when we do that, we're able to be a better friend, listen better, help, and be more helpful instead of feeling like things are about us and what I want. Kindness instead of prejudice. Now, if a person prejudges you, or you prejudge others, you that makes friendship harder, because what you're judged at or assumed to be, you have to work through through that before you can even build like any kind of relationship with anybody. Because prejudging is, it's really a much bigger issue than what the media makes it out to be. They make it out to only be about black and white, or dealing with Hispanics or Koreans or Italians or redheads, male, female, whatever. It's it's just about how you deal with like really people who are different than you. Because here we are, 7 or 8 billion people in this world. None of us thinks the same. None of us acts the same. None of us sees life the same. And so we're prejudging is essentially treating people badly who are different than us, and that doesn't do anybody any good at any time. Um, yeah, and it could be due to past hurts, assumptions on what you hear. It takes work to see past our preconceived notions on people we meet and interact with. Once we work past the preconceived notions or assumptions, we can get to know people for who they are, to help them through the struggles they're facing. Now, and that to bring hope to the hopeless, healing to the wounded, and love to the outcast is the final goal. It's really, it sounds like final goal as this is the destination, but it's not. It's something that we have to work on every day of our lives. A statement that I heard from one of my classmates at Lake City High my senior year in 1997 was, do not follow. No, back up, Kasey. Do not lead, for I may not follow. Do not follow, for I may not lead. Just walk beside me and be my friend. Now, the thing with dealing with people is, if a person comes across towards you as they are better than you, you're going to be defensive. You're going, and as you should be, because nobody likes to be belittled. We like to have someone treat us like we're better than them, for sure, but that's not the good thing. Because then we're in a position where if we don't know what they think we should know, having worked retail for 20 years, you run into that quite a bit. But then, and you don't know, then you let them down, and they if they put you on a pedestal, the fall is harder. So when you walk beside a person and be your friend, it's like, hey, we're trying to figure this out together. I don't know the answer, so you have some insight that's going to help me, and hopefully I have some insight that's going to help you. Many people lose hope because there aren't too many who want to see them for who they are, and free from assumptions. Most are content to just have the status quo and take what they hear as true without truly investigating and get to know them. It takes great people to push past those preconceived notions and work to be a friend to those. Everyone feels like an outcast at times. We feel like we're alone in what we deal with. People have to work to show the ones they feel they're alone that they in fact are not. Ordinary people take what's said and believe it. Great people dive in and prove the naysayers wrong. Now, one thing about being a friend is in some ways I have failed. In some ways I've done very well. But the key is with that as well is knowing that, okay, you know what, I've fallen short of what God expects me to be. Allow God to work through those areas so that way I can become a better person, and all of us do the same. If we follow that and we strive to live it, we'll not only be better followers of Christ, but better friends to everyone we get to come in contact with. Doesn't mean we'll ever be close friends with everybody. That's not going to happen, and that's not what I'm saying. But you will definitely have a lot more people who respect you, and you're going to be a lot more respected if you take this approach instead of assuming the worst in people, because you might find out those people that you're assuming the worst in could be some of the coolest people you've known. But that's about it. Leave a comment, subscribe if you choose to. Let me know what you think I could have done better on, and y'all have an amazing week.